Hello, my name is Brian Kamowski, and I'm the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service in Flagstaff, Arizona. And it's our job not only to provide you with warnings when any life-threatening weather might be hitting this area, but also to provide that information that gives you the day-to-day information in a monsoon outlook, for instance, in this case, to help you prepare for what's coming. And that's basically what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to give you a brief monsoon outlook, kind of look at what this portfolio looks like of what the monsoon means, and then talk about our warning program. What does it mean when the National Weather Service, for instance, issues a flash flood warning, specifically in the context of the slide burn area? Okay. First, let's talk about the monsoon outlook. Right now, we've been looking at data every day, and we don't see any indication of the start of what we call that monsoon circulation, that seasonal change in the wind direction that brings the moist air from the south into the area and sets off almost daily thunderstorms in this area. We don't see any indication of that circulation starting yet. The average date is normally about July 7th. But right now we can say that at least through June, it looks like we're going to be dry, or it's mostly dry through most of June at this time. What we do see when we coordinate with the Climate Prediction Center and other agencies, that there is a slightly enhanced chance for a greater than normal monsoon. Basically what I'm talking about here is any monsoon season, there's a pretty wide range of the possibilities for how much rain might fall. If average is right in the middle and my arms kind of represent that spread of possibilities, this year it's kind of enhanced a little bit toward an enhanced likelihood that maybe we're going to have a heavier than normal monsoon. That's what the current forecast models are showing, and that's in agreement with the graphic that you'll see if you just go online to the Climate Prediction Center. Those areas that you see in green here is that area to where there's that enhanced chance that the monsoon, or at least in this case, what it's indicating, the rainfall in July, August, and September could be above normal. Again, it's just a slight movement of that spread of possibilities, but something we need to be aware of. What I have here is an interesting graphic that kind of shows you the progression of a typical monsoon from a rain gauge that we have in the middle of Oak Creek Canyon. Along the bottom here is time advancing from left to right, mid-June all the way through mid-September. And on the left-hand side, and I apologize, these numbers are so slow, is the amount of rainfall accumulated through the season. So as we accumulate rainfall and as it rains over the area, these lines bump up with every rainstorm that we have. Last year is in green here. You can see we first started to measure precipitation in Oak Creek Canyon just after July 9. Everywhere you see a big bump here is probably a rainfall event that would cause this year some type of flash flood response near the burn area. Okay? The monsoon has set in early recently. For instance, here in 2006, which is the blue line, you see we started to get rainfall and significant rainfall by late June. It's also conversely started quite late some years. Here in 2006, we really didn't get the first significant rainfalls in Oak Creek Canyon until late July. Okay, so there's a broad spectrum of possibilities here. But notice that all three of these years ended up receiving almost the exact same amount. And in this case, it was over 10 inches by the time that the monsoon was over. Okay? When we look at that amount of rainfall, that could cause the debris flows that have been talked about, or the flash flooding along those steep slopes of the west side of Oak Creek. Those are the areas we're most concerned about for an impact from the rainfall. It might only take a quarter inch of rainfall in 15 minutes to cause debris to start moving. That's not much when you're talking about a season total, almost 10 inches of rain. Okay, keep that in mind. In 2013, for instance, we measured 9 days there at our gauge in the middle of Oak Creek Canyon that had over a ½ inch of rain. Okay, and that's just at one location. In 2012, we had 6 days. In 2011, I think it was only 4. There's great variability but understand that if we do get the average amount of precipitation that we're expecting between 7, 8, maybe 9 inches in that area, that we're going to have multiple events that are likely going to cause significant responses over the burned area. Okay? Let's go through what we do know and what we maybe are not that sure of. What we do know is that any thunderstorm over this area is capable of causing a significant response. It is capable of creating a life-threatening impact over the burned area. We know that there are going to be damaging and life-threatening debris flows, rock slides, and flooding, especially on that west slope of the upper part of Oak Creek Canyon in the burned area. We can expect it. It's going to happen. We know the climatology. We know the response in these areas. We know that some debris is likely to make it into West Fork and into Oak Creek itself. Now, what are we less sure of? We're less sure of that when rain falls over the burned area, just what the details of the impacts are going to be. It's very hard to tell what debris is going to move, what debris is not going to move. How fast is water going to run down these slopes when it's passing through areas that are severely burned and not so severely burned? What's the magnitude of the downstream flooding going to be? Downstream of the burned area, let's say Grasshopper Point. Let's say Midgley Bridge. For the larger events in that spectrum, yes, we could see some higher water in those areas. For the storms that are on the lower end of that, we're not likely going to see impacts far downstream in the burned area. Okay? But that's an area of uncertainty that we need to prepare for, because we don't know what the impact of the debris in Oak Creek is going to do. Is it going to dam up? Is it going to flow through? Is it just going to shuffle these trees and rocks further downstream for a couple miles? We really don't know. We don't know what the intensity of the monsoon is going to be. We have a spectrum of ideas, but we know that in most cases, the monsoon is probably going to be defined for you by what the worst storm of the season is, okay? And just how bad that worst storm is. At the National Weather Service, our primary job is to issue warnings when life-threatening weather is coming your way. And for the slide burn area, that's our flash flood warning. That's the product we're going to use when we see heavy rainfall, which is already occurring over the area, or likely moving into the area, to give you as much warning as possible when these debris flows and flooding might be occurring. Okay, understand, and I've already said this once, that the greatest immediate threat will be from those debris flows and the flooding down those steep west slopes of the upper part of Oak Creek Canyon over the burn area. And understand that this type of flooding happens very, very quickly. Okay? You will have only minutes to respond once the flash flood warning is issued. Please understand that if you live within one of the areas of great threat on the west side of Oak Creek, within the burn area, and you hear the flash flood warning alert, the sirens in the canyon, understand that you have to take action now. You don't have time to think. You have to know where you're going to go, know your safe locations, and have a plan to get there. We issue other products as well at the National Weather Service. Flood advisories are those flood products which are issued when non-life-threatening flooding might be expected, something more along the lines of a nuisance flood. We don't anticipate too many of these being issued over the burned area, as most any rainfall which is going to occur is going to cause a life-threatening response. Occasionally, you'll also see the flash flood watch issued. This is when over a large part of northern Arizona, for instance, there's a much greater than normal chance of numerous thunderstorms causing very heavy rainfall. That's when we issue the flash flood watch. Understand that most of the flooding, which is likely to occur this year, is not going to occur under flash flood watch conditions. It's going to occur on those average monsoon days when we have the 30 to 40% chance, maybe 50% chance of thunderstorms, and that's the day that it hits the canyon. It's a number of factors that go into making a decision When it comes to issuing the flash flood warnings, I can talk a little bit more to you out in the foyer after this presentation, but it's actually a pretty complex process. But the meteorologists that we have on station have an average of almost 15 years of experience in forecasting for northern Arizona. They know what they're doing, and they're going to be working for you during these events this year. Our website, weather.gov/Flagstaff, is where you can find us on the internet. We're also on social media as well. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, we're very easy to find. We'll be issuing nowcast storm updates on social media and on our website as well. Robert Rowley will be talking about other ways to get our information, for instance, over CAF Radio. We're going to be coordinating with them as well. And with that, I'll pass it on to Jim Driscoll. Thank you.
Thank you, good afternoon. I think you heard that we're going to flood. I think listening to Brian and Greg and Rory and just hearing what everybody has to say, it is a matter of time when it's going to occur, not if anymore. And that is going to present unique challenges to all of us. Knowing that there's going to be flooding, and Brian talked about several things. There are going to be life-threatening events potentially occurring throughout the summer and possibly even into the winter. He also talked about this short duration. It may be sunny in Oak Creek Canyon, but we have a rain cell up West Fork of Oak Creek that people in Oak Creek don't realize is there, and it drops a significant amount of rain, or even a small amount of rain that can impact downstream. And those people recreating or living downstream may not know it. Maybe the warning system isn't as accurate, or maybe our warning is not out soon enough. Do you have the opportunity to evacuate, or do you have to run to high ground, relocate to higher ground, not in the bottom of a drainage? Those are some of the issues and challenges that we're going to be facing on how we get that word out. The use of the Code Red system, and many of you are familiar with that you can sign up for the emergency notification system within Coconino County as well as in Yavapai County. But that system has its limitations, and we'll talk about more about that later, and Rob Rowley will explain more about it later on. We have the siren system throughout the canyon, and it's very effective. It was utilized the other night for the most recent fire at Junipine, and before that on the main slide fire. It works very well, but it relies on people activating that system. And we also then have the effect on our response capabilities. How fast can we get there to help people? And Chief Kasian from Sedona Fire will spend some time explaining some of those challenges that we have with that. Looking at the populations that we have in Oak Creek Canyon, it's relatively easy to contact the business owners and the residents. Many of you are here, you know some of the problems, but you're also going to know what to do and where to go, how to access more information and what you need to do to stay safe. But the visitors in the canyon are the difficult ones to warn. How do we access them? As I said, Code Red is not going to reach them. They're not signed up. As they travel through Oak Creek Canyon or throughout Arizona, they're not signed up to these local systems. How many people, visitors, people recreating, do we have in Oak Creek Canyon at any given time? 500 or 5,000? It's really hard to say. How do we warn those visitors prior to that event? And Brian talked about we have systems in place. National Weather Service has a great system, but many people don't monitor those kinds of things. So some of the efforts that we're taking to try to get people noticed or warned about these situations. We're doing some radio messaging. Brian mentioned CAF Radio. We'll be utilizing several radio stations to keep that message out there. We're discussing the possibility of establishing an AM radio station, much like you all see in construction zones where it says, turn to 1610 AM for information. Hopefully we'll be able to establish that in the canyon for these kinds of events. We're giving information to our business owners and campground hosts and any other businesses in the canyon to help distribute to visitors or people recreating the canyon about what they should do, where they should go, and how to stay safe. We're going to be providing the residents in the near future with information, packets of information through our CERT team, the Community Emergency Response Team volunteers that we utilize in Coconino County. We've also established a system with the Arizona Department of Transportation for variable message boards. Those are those lighted boards that you see as you drive down highways, providing information. There'll also be some fixed signing in the canyon as well as at each end of the canyon, advising people what to do and how to obtain additional information. One area that we've discussed, I think, at great length is how do we still access people? We found out from ADOT the other day, many people visiting our community don't pay attention to signs. I think we all know that at the time, especially speed limit ones, right? But it's important that we access or provide opportunities for those people. We'll be establishing advisory roadblocks on those days when we expect high monsoonal activity. Brian talked about a 30, 40, 50% chance of monsoonal activity that day. We will have advisory checkpoints at each end of the canyon, at Slide Rock and at the top of the switchbacks, where we will provide information to people traveling through the canyon to tell them what is going on, but also to give them information on what they should do in the event that there is some kind of flooding or debris flows in the canyon. Mm-hmm. What they need to do is so important. Just trying to drive out of the area may not be the best answer. This is an example of what we intend to pass out. It will be a two-sided document with the warning, as well as a map of the area with some prominent landmarks, campgrounds, things like that. So people traveling through the canyon should be able to reference where they are in the upper part of the canyon. Some additional activities that we're also going to be establishing are trying to enhance our capabilities. Cell phone communications in the upper part of the canyon are not good. They're not any better for us than they are for you. So we're exploring the possibility of obtaining some additional portable cell phone capabilities just to enhance our ability to access people, but our ability to talk to one another as well. We're also looking at the feasibility of putting up a radio repeater for the public safety agencies, because our radio communications are very poor in the canyon too. So if we're able to enhance the public's communications capability as well as ours, hopefully we can be more responsive and get those messages out. Looking at providing kiosks in the canyon as well. There's certain points established where this information can be passed on. We're also looking at some other technology that we're researching at this point, that is a mobile device that would allow us to potentially override local cell phones and provide emergency information on what to do. We've obtained a little bit of this information, but it's a small device that basically will take over local cell phones, and we can text out information if they're in one of these vulnerable areas on what to do, where to go, and how to get out of that situation. Last thing is, we're still looking for options. We're still looking for ideas on how to access people, how to serve them notice, what's the best way to inform people on what to do in the event that one of these alerts is activated. So we will be doing that after one or two events. We may be changing things, but we're going to be trying to change things in order to help people. Our desire is that we don't have any loss of life. But the potential's certainly here, I think, from what you've heard for the last hour. So thank you.